Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I want to have a bit of a rant all about capital ships. What capital ships are coming to the game, what do we have at the moment, what's going to be happening with capital ships. Capital ship gameplay is so integral to what Star Citizen wants to become, and if you're sort of confused what capital ships are and what CIG want to do with capital ships in Star Citizen, well, have a look at the Squadron 42 Chapter 1 demo they showed at CitizenCon. That's a lot of capital ships fighting there, but in the persistent universe, for the Star Citizen MMO, they want that to be organic, and obviously everything there is staged. So what is a capital ship in Star Citizen? Well, normally capital ships would be like considered big powerful warships, corvettes or frigates being the smallest of those based on who you ask, but effectively it's corvettes. But in Star Citizen, it's just massive ships, be they industry or combat ones. They typically have a few features other than size in common, like capital-sized components, which are the biggest components we're aware of in Star Citizen, and them needing big crews, not being able to land in like a hangar or anything, probably not be able to go planet-side without a lot of effort. Well, let's talk about some capital stuff that's in more recent memory. So CIG have just released the Idris P and M frigates, which were originally planned to turn up with Squadron 42, but CIG have gone, no, they're ready now, let's put them in the game. Now, these are absolutely massive ships. You're going to spend a load of your time in Squadron 42 on an Idris. They also released these weapon kits for them, so you can get like a torpedo mount for the nose, or a big laser mount, the K kit, the big old beam weapon for its nose. These are incredibly powerful ships, but at the moment in Star Citizen, we don't really have the gameplay loops to support capital ships properly. And especially at the moment as well, there are lots of concerns with capital ships being in-game like the Idrises, because many people are using these just as their daily drivers, and this can cause lots of performance issues and that sort of stuff. So you basically have a good portion of the super active players in Star Citizen and sort of Star Citizen players that are either Carty or Wave 1 in the PTU backers, that sort of thing. They have Idrises or access to an Idris because they own another ship that gives them access to it, like a Javelin or whatever. So you'd have situations in the PTU where there will just be a dozen Idrises or even more at a new location, even though you're trying to test out the location or whatever, landed on the ground there. And that's just going to cause huge amounts of performance issues because these are absolutely massive things. Each of them is effectively an FPS level. And you've got these bad boys landed next to a giant storm on Pyro 1, a new site with loads of new stuff going on. The thing with capital ships is that you will be able to build them in-game, you will be able to get them in-game, buy them in-game, and that sort of stuff. However, they are supposed to be relatively rare and limited, and they will be. Once there are more players playing, when 4.2 goes live, that sort of stuff, there will be a lot more standard players, a lot less Idrises per player, as it were. And there's going to be loads of downsides to Idrises and capital ships in the future as well, to not deploying them for everything. I do want to talk about some important stuff that's coming in the not too distant future. Capital ships really need engineering gameplay. Engineering potentially could turn up, at least on the preview build, and a big updated version of engineering later in June or July. It's probably coming to the tech preview build. We'll probably have a load of stuff going on there, including things with armor as well. They've got like a data-driven armor system. They do want Maelstrom for this, which is their physicalized damage and breakability system, which will also be super cool for capital ships, having that physical damage system. But you want that multi-crew experience if you're having a big capital ship, right? You want all of your friends that are on there with you, even though there's only a few of them, to each have a really important integral role. And you want engineers and repairing and all that sort of jazz. Fires and damage control all needing to be dealt with, boarding to be a lot more important, and all part of the sort of combat of capital ships, sub-component targeting. Now, they've been updating a load of these systems to an extent, and scanning and all that sort of stuff, but with engineering you have much more in the way of physicalized components and that sub-component targeting and being able to damage those components because of it. And we know that there are sort of other components turning up as well, like shield emitters and stuff, so you'll be able to take out shield emitters on some of these capital ships to stop shields being generated at that area, or for the shields to be less effective at the general side that you've targeted some emitters from. So there is a load more to actually come, even when it comes to just some of the core components of Star Citizen. We also have things like PDCs, the point defense systems. Capital ships, they typically have a few of these, some have loads of them, and they automatically fire at torpedoes, missiles that are targeting them, even like fighters and other ships that target them and shoot them. They'll go, oh, enemy, and start shooting at it. And there are going to be lots of different types of PDC, and you'll be able to swap certain mounts for PDCs and things, it looks like. We saw some sort of missile area effect ones that turned up during Fleet Week. But there's lots of other stuff that helps you run a ship, runs a capital ship with a smaller crew, because that's one of the important things, right? You want to be able to run this effectively just yourself. Okay, well, some people want to run it with a crew of their friends. Some people want to run them with big crews, whatever. There will be AI crews in the future, so you'll be able to captain a ship and have a load of AI crew assisting you. And there's obviously going to be those PDCs shooting some stuff and providing some defense. And there's also going to be AI blades. Now, AI blades are sort of the thing that's going to come next before AI crew. And we've got flight blades in game now, which basically go, you put them on one of your computer slots, and the flight blades, they tweak your agility or forward thrust, giving you a little bit more agility or a little bit more forward thrust. But eventually you'll be able to use AI blades for automatically launching countermeasures, controlling some manned turrets, things like that. Loads and loads and loads of different things that you might be able to do with AI blades, but they're going to make certain ships, especially capital ships, much easier to run with smaller crews. So will you be able to run a capital ship solo? Probably, as long as you're using AI blades, AI crew, and effectively using the PDCs. So it's interesting with the PDCs because they sort of automatically fire. People are using them semi-offensively as well. They're supposed to be more defensive countermeasures from my understanding, but we'll see how that shakes out. A lot of this stuff, obviously, hugely subject to change, so bear that in mind as well. One of the other things they want for capital ships, and CIG have been sort of doing, is making capital ships feel tankier and heavier. So more mass, you actually feel that mass. They're not sort of made of paper or anything. They take a load of damage. They are going to be mitigating damage shot at them as well. So size 3 weapons or below, just gonna do like no damage or fractional damage. Their shields, they're going to regen even while they're taking damage, and unless they reach sort of like a damage threshold. And then size 4 weapons might be able to damage the armor of a ship a little bit, and size 5 weapons is where you're sort of doing the normal amount of damage you would. But the larger the weapon, typically, the sort of more suitable it is for shooting a capital ship. And there's a load of downsides to capital ships as well that CIG want to get into the game to make them viable and sensible for their role. So they want them to be hard to deploy, well, harder to deploy, I should say. So you're not going to be able to get them in and out of a planet's atmosphere. But that's not going to be true in all situations, because you're going to be able to use like SRV and tractor beams and stuff. There are going to be planets that have very low gravity, but there's going to also be planets that if you've got your capital ship, you've got your Idris in atmosphere there, you're not getting it out. It's going to just be a salvage operation after that. There's not going to be sort of hangars for the most part for them to be stored in either. Most of them are going to have specialist facilities with space stations or docking arms or dry docks, shipyards, or have supplies and a load of this sort of stuff they need supplied by small ships. It's one of the reasons you might want to use like a cargo MPUV and stuff like that to move cargo around and on board your ship. There is going to be quite a large cost to run these, from like fuel, from maintenance costs. They're going to be hard to manage as well. There's going to be a lot of engineering things that can go wrong with them, and because of the amount of components and because of the amount of fuses and stuff around the ship, there's a lot more that could go wrong and will go wrong because of that. Fires could get really out of control if they spread to large sections of the ship. If a capital ship system goes critical, that could be quite a big explosion. These are going to cost huge amounts of in-game currency to buy, to replace, and if you've got lifetime insurance on them, whatever, well, they still need to effectively be manufactured in-game, and there could be a big waiting time. We don't know what the waiting time is going to be for ships like an Idris to be replaced, but it could be a month or something like that. It might be a week, but they are sort of economic drivers. They're important things to have in game that are very powerful, but you commit them and it's dangerous to commit them. Maybe not dangerous, but risky. And again, with like capital sized components and stuff like that as well, you're not going to be able to easily swap them in and out. You might need to go to specialist facilities because they're huge. We did learn from a recent CIG post about floaty big ships that they're doing loads of updates to the flight model. There's big updates coming to atmospheric flight and jerk and VTOL, and you'll get more and more of the Squadron 42 goodness when it comes to capital ships turning up in Star Citizen's persistent universe over the coming next year or so, I would expect. And we do know that there are other massive capital ships planned for the game. Obviously, we've got the Javelin. We don't know when the Javelin's going to turn up. Relatively recently, CIG said, the Javelin will turn up just after Squadron 42, but that was the same time they said the Idris would turn up with Squadron 42, so Javelin could turn up before Squadron now or whatever, but it's it's not too far off the Javelin as far as I understand, to actually be in players' hands and flyable by players. So there's other things like, obviously, the Kraken and the Privateer people are very keen to see in game. CIG did recently say that it might go into pre-production by the end of the year. Obviously, there's that giant Bengal carrier, and we know that you're going to be able to build these in-game from player-made space stations at some point. Obviously, the Bengal is in Squadron 42. Don't know when it's going to be in Star Citizen's Persistent Universe. We have seen it turn up during a fleet week before. We also know there's things like the Super Dreadnought, the Retribution class ship. I believe that's going to be appearing at some point in Squadron 42. I believe technically it exists in Star Citizen's Persistent Universe as well. Not sure if it's been destroyed or not. And we do also know that CIG are working on a sort of battleship or battle cruiser, something larger than a Javelin, a big ship of war. I'm really looking forward to what sort of capital ship combat has to offer in the future, but it is going to be a sort of mixture of different things when you're having a fleet battle going on. Because obviously a lot of people are like, the Polaris is better than the Idris is better than the Polaris, whatever. They're two different things. They have different uses during a fleet battle, and you're going to have ships covering other ships like hammerheads, protecting potentially your Idris or whatever. Maybe you have a Perseus going after a Polaris, or going after an Idris or a Javelin or something. But you've got loads of these sort of capital ships, loads of these large ships all fighting, and then wings of fighters and bombers and loads going on. And capital ships typically will perform a role within a fleet battle. And yes, you can deploy them by themselves or just with the sort of ships that they have on board with them. And I'm very much looking forward to Star Citizen having huge ranges of fights that can occur, from a little dogfighting skirmish to huge, massive fleet battles. But I suppose part of that sort of engagement is going to be where you are. If you're in a dense asteroid field, we can't really bring a capital ship in that. It's going to be more dogfighting. I'm really looking forward to the Ares Ion really being super useful for fighting in fleet battles and shooting large and capital ships. I'm looking forward to bombers and torpedoes being really useful, from being deployed from fighters and torpedo bombers, torpedo fighters. Anyway, I could rant on about capital ships all day. Now, a load of these things are going to be turning up in the next year or so, at least some of it. Things like engineering's likely to be in a relatively good, refined place. There's going to be loads more sort of weapon kits and modular choices for capital ships and stuff like that as well. Lots of updates to capitals, things like that too. But yeah, I'm sort of interested to know what you think, and are you excited by anything in particular? Are you like, yeah, capital ship battles are going to be awesome? Or you're like, well, we'll see where they go. Are you interested in battles at scale like that, even if you're jumping in with a group activity like a big server event where anyone can join and you sort of participate like Xenothreat was? Or do you want to do that more PvP org versus org level? Because yeah, obviously when you've got player space stations and fighting over them and stuff like that, that's going to be really interesting, right? But if you think I've got something wrong, tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Something else I'd love you to do, click on the link to NordVPN under my video, or go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. This will give you some better security, accessibility, and privacy on your interwebs. Oh, I love NordVPN, and you probably will too. I'm doing finger guns, but you can't really see that. If you would like to further support the channel, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that sort of good stuff. We've got join buttons under videos that help support the channel as well. You get some exclusive videos that are going out now. They've got Patreon, which basically does the same. We make daily Star Citizen content here, and that's partly due to the people that go the extra mile and help out the channel. I hope you have a fantastic May, a fantastic Fleet Week, and a great Star Citizen Alpha 4.1.1 experience.